Welcome to The Backlog, a podcast hosted by ADAPTOVATE. I'm Katie Cords, Head of Branded Content at ADAPTOVATE. ADAPTOVATE partners with clients to accelerate outcomes by implementing new, transformative ways of working. We are a global firm with offices in North America, Europe, Asia and Australia. Today, our guests are Alan Trivedi and Steve Walton. They are currently doing a mini-series called Agile Talks, which is featured on our YouTube sister channel. This episode picks up from our last episode where Alan shared his thoughts. In this episode, Steve shares his. Please enjoy part 2 of Agile Talks.
Thanks, Steve, for the prompt. Really enjoyed that. But I'd love to get your perspective on this. What do you think Agile means for you in 2021?
Yeah, I remember when you were talking about your vision, it was very much around sport and teamwork. And, I had that visualization of an ice skater and it just reeked of agility and elegance. And I took a different tack. When I started thinking about Agile for 2021, I was building on where I probably got to last year, as we all do. And I was thinking, it's about businesses being responsive and it's about business agility versus individual agility. So it's sort of like mass teamwork. And the next element for me was, the big challenge that I think organisations face, and they're trying to get a lot of big things done, I think, in the next coming year, is how to take this work that they have at the board level. Here are the things we actually want to achieve. How are they actually going to effectively break it down so that when we come to work, we know how they're going to contribute. And sure, it's always been about that, but I think there's going to be a really big focus as to how can we cascade that strategy to work even quicker. And then that brings me to the third item, which for me is about alignment. How do we know that once we've had that explanation as to here's what we're trying to achieve collectively and here's how my piece fits in, how do we make sure that all our pieces fit together? How do we get that jigsaw happening? So for me, my visualization for 2021 is 100 people all trying to do one jigsaw puzzle at the same time. And we kind of like know what it's meant to look like, but I'm guessing it's a jigsaw puzzle that's just all sky and clouds. But unless we work with each other and find out how our pieces fit in, we won't get that big picture, we won't get that success.
Yeah, I like how you said that, the jigsaw puzzle, and that's such a wonderful analogy, especially it's kind of getting me to think about what does good look like, right? And we often talk about that, right, in the work that we do. And that's part of the thing. We've got to paint a picture, but we don't start with the picture. We start with the pieces, and then we have to put it all together, right? So that's really interesting. And so maybe one other thing I'd love to maybe get from you is how do we do it, kind of coming back from 2020? Like what are some things you think we need to do differently, or what are we going to need? What are some things we'll need to do that?
Well, out of 2020, my advice to everyone is be kind to yourself and be kind to others. I think it's really been, and it's going to continue to be a time where, that connection with a bit of empathy is going to be really useful. It will help us get through our day. It'll help everyone else as well. And I think related to that is, it's how we do it. So as teams, take a little bit more time to listen to each other, understand why they're doing what they're doing, understand what our dependencies are, and start to coordinate a little bit more. Let's work out what the things are we're assuming and work through them. I think there's an opportunity for us to remove some of the friction out of the system. So back to the jigsaw analogy, if we've got people on different sides of this table doing this massive jigsaw, I've got a piece that works here. Can you use it? I think it fits over there. More of those conversations at the right time. So, you can't just have everyone throwing pieces across the table. We've got to get some degree of synchronization in there. but I think a more considered way of working to achieve the big outcomes rather than the little ones. I think the last few years we've focused on incremental delivery of little pieces, and that's been really important. We've had to do that, but now it's time to let's do some, step change pieces of work. Let's learn how to flex the muscle we've built. So, for example, if we've been using Agile for speeding up decision making, how can we make sure that we put those decisions to use? We had situations in government where we found Agile teams could actually develop policy really fast, but leaders needed to respond. So we've got lots of opportunity to do the big stuff.
Yeah, and I like what you mentioned about engagement. We can be nimble, agile, and come up with solutions, but I think it's really important for leaders to frequently engage and be a lot closer to their teams, right? So they can help drive some of those decisions. Fantastic, I love it. Jigsaw puzzle it is for 2021.
Cool. Talk soon.
Yes.